Hi again, everybody. I'm Dan Hoard, and I hope that you are as excited as I am for tonight's Bearcats watch party presented by Nathan's Hot Dogs. We are turning the clock back to December 5th, 2009, and the greatest game in UC football history. You might not remember the final score, but I guarantee that you remember the game-winning play and the two guys responsible for it. They are with me on this call, Tony Pike and Armon Benz. It's Pike to Benz 10 and a half years later. I'm excited about watching it again tonight. Are you guys going to be watching tonight? Armand, starting with you.
Yeah, I'm going to tune in, man. It's always good to kind of relive those moments. I mean, it feels like it happened just yesterday, but I mean, you think about all the time that's gone by, all the great teams and memories that have took place, and it still feels like, man, I'm waking up from a dream. So, yeah, I'm tuning in.
Tony, will you watch the entire game or just tune in the second half?
Yeah, you keep saying 10 and a half years. That hurts, man. My body feels like it's been 10 years, but my mind is not. I'm still up in the air. You know, I'll definitely tune in for the second half, but that first half was rough. Though, you know, the conditions and, you know, getting used to the wind and the snow. But no, I got to watch it for the first time from start to finish, the TV copy about a year and a half ago, and I'm looking forward to watching all of it tomorrow, even though the first half's going to be tough to swallow.
Tonight. You got to tune in tonight. 7 o'clock tonight, Tony. Yeah, don't forget. That's 7 o'clock tonight on Facebook, YouTube, and GoBearcats.com. You know, there are certain expressions that all Cincinnati sports fans know. 41-92 for Pete Rose. The Freezer Bowl for the Bengals and going to their first Super Bowl. Pike to Benz is on that list for Cincinnati sports fans. What does that mean to you to have something like that everybody gets excited about?
For me, it's crazy for growing up here in Cincinnati. You know, I grew up a Bengals, a Reds, a Cincinnati sports fan. I was a diehard Bearcat fan from the time my grandpa would take me to games growing up, and to be a part of Cincinnati history. You mentioned the greatness of that game, but to be a part of that play there at the end, and obviously, you know, as Armand said, with the team around us, there are so many people that made that possible for that play to happen. The play itself, for the Pittsburgh defensive end jumps off sides, and Jeff Linkenbach's able to get a hand on him and make a play. But there were so many different players and people that made that possible. But for me, for what I've done growing up here and being a Cincinnati fan and follower, it means the world.
How about you, Armand?
Yeah, I mean, for me, when you get signed a letter of intent to go somewhere and play college ball, you never have an idea about what type of stuff you have in store for you. So if you'd have told me when I signed here that I'm going to go all the way across the country, go on a wild ride, incredible run, and be a part of the biggest play in school history, man, I would have thought you were writing a story for a book. So it means a lot to me. It'll always mean a lot to me, and it's awesome that it still means a lot to the people in this community.
All right, so for folks who tune in for the watch party tonight, let's set the scene. Cincinnati is 11-0, ranked 5th in the country. Pittsburgh is 9-2, ranked 15th in the country. The winner gets the Big East title. You would have finished in a tie, but Pitt would have had the tiebreaker by beating Cincinnati head-to-head. They would have gone to the BCS Bowl. Cincinnati would have gone to the Meineke Car Care Bowl. It was 32 degrees, wind chill of 25, 63,000 plus in attendance, tens of thousands of Cincinnati fans, I think. That's my memory of it. So when you think back to all of that, what stands out, whether it was the stakes, the weather, the crowd, Heinz Field, whatever? Armand, you go first.
Yeah, I think for me, the more and more I think back on what was going on during that year, I mean, there was so much on the line with that game, and to think of how historical that season ended up being and how it could have just ended up being another good year in Cincinnati football if we don't close the deal. You know, no Sugar Bowl, none of the history that comes with everything that game meant. So I think the stakes made it that much more important. And then the rivalry in itself with Pitt, you know, old Big East rivalry, I think it had everything, all the makings of a great college football game.
Tone?
Well, we never talked about we won the River City Rivalry Trophy. No one ever talked about the trophy.
The world's largest trophy.
Yeah. No, Dan, you hit the nail on the head. When you talk about going into that game, when you're in the moment, you don't realize the importance of what it was. Number 5 in the country. You're trying to go back to the BCS Bowl for back-to-back seasons. But if you lose, you're at the Meineke Car Care Bowl, and that's bowl affiliations and what it comes down to. So to not only know that, okay, we're top 10 in the country, we're trying to get to a certain level, but if we lose, it's, and nothing against the Meineke Car Care Bowl, but it's, the year before we're at the Fountain Blue in Miami, and we're now going to Bourbon Street in New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl. That's a big drop. And the quick time afterwards where there's a moment in time where you think, oh my God, we're going to go play in the national championship game because the Texas-Nebraska game, the clock runs out. But it was everything at stake, and knowing that we're trying to do something special, not only go to a BCS game, but go to back-to-back BCS games and put that program on a different level.
So the game, as everybody knows, did not start well. With 1:26 left in the half, you guys were down 31-10. What was the dominant emotion? Were you angry? Were you embarrassed? Were you frustrated? How were you feeling down by 3 touchdowns with basically 90 seconds left in the half?
Cold. Sweet Caroline was reverberating through the stadium. But the special thing about that team in 2009 was the understanding with how explosive we were on the offensive side of the ball. And it wasn't a cockiness, it was a confidence in what we were able to do, and know that if 1 or 2 things go our way and we stay in this game, we can score points in bunches. We have shown that throughout the season. So it was really, you mentioned the snow falling. It was just weathering that storm of the first half and kind of getting a grasp on everything that was going on, and knowing that at some point we were going to make our run, and we were able to do that.
So after Pitt goes up 31-10, Dave Wanstad elects to kick off to Marty Gilliard. He did it 7 times in the game. Not a great move, as it turned out. And Marty, of course, ran it back 99 yards for the touchdown to make it a 14-point game at halftime. Armon, how big of a lift did Marty's kickoff return touchdown provide?
Yeah, and the amazing thing about special teams is it impacts the game so much when something huge like that happens. So, with no momentum on our side, road game, for him to kind of make a big play like that, it just put a joke in us. And he was like that the whole season. Every week, Marty would do something, whether it's a long punt return, a long kick return, something that kind of sparked us at some point. And that game was no different. Kickoff set us off. From then, it was like we almost snapped it in the gear, and Pike touched on it. We were all about the explosiveness, scoring plays, high tempo offense. So once you gave us that little bit of a glare of hope, we took it landed.
All right, we all like to be a fly on the wall for places that we're not allowed to go. So take us inside the locker room at halftime, down by 14. How was PK?
Yeah, well, at halftime, I was in the locker room getting my shoulder work on, so I wasn't in a great place. But when BK got us in there, he's kind of cool and collected as always, and I think that was kind of what separated us as far as his ability to always instill that confidence in us. We never went into a game and it felt like we weren't prepared. He always knew what to say, what buttons to push, when to challenge guys, and when to tell us to kind of relax and understand that we were going to be okay. So he told us we were going to win the game. We believed it. We all bought in and started close in the second half.
Was he calm and cool with you, Tony?
There was not much calm and coolness walking off the field going into the locker room, because I think I had just thrown another interception right before the half, although I like to block all that stuff out as much as possible. But no, there was a wake up moment, politely speaking, that Brian Kelly and I had. But once you get in that locker room, you don't have much time, and you're taking in so much information from the first half and what you want to do in the second half, that there was a wake up moment going into the half. But after that, with your quarterback coach and your coordinator and the offensive staff, you're figuring out what you can do in the second half to start moving the ball. And luckily we were able to do that.
Armon, you mentioned having your shoulder worked on at halftime. You separated your shoulder in the first half, correct? And kept playing.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I had Pike threw me a fade in the end zone, and I tried to go up over somebody and catch it, and ended up landing on my shoulder with the guy landing on top of me. So wasn't feeling real good going in there at halftime, but we had the best trainer in the country, in my opinion. They worked on me. They got me back out there. My man James, give him a shout out. And then, that's history.
So you're down by 14 at the half. And when I just think back on the game, it seems to me like you immediately started cutting into that lead in the third quarter. But then I went back and looked it up, and that wasn't really the case. You scored a touchdown in the third, but Pitt got it back in the fourth. You were still down by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, the third quarter was frustrating because it felt like we gained a little bit of ground, but you look up and nothing was accomplished over the course of that third quarter. We did have some plays offensively that were able to get some positive stuff going, and we knew, okay, if we can go back to this and get this look later on in the game, that was going to help. But at the time, it also felt like Dion Lewis had 90 carries in the game as well. It felt like he was just pounding 4 or 5 yards. So it felt like we, 1 step forward, 2 steps back almost until that fourth quarter came around.
Dion Lewis is my favorite stat from that game. 47 carries, 5 receptions. He had 52 touches. He was a freshman for Pitt. Unbelievable game. In the third quarter, Tony, Zach Kalaris started warming up. I don't remember whether it was right after you threw your third interception or when exactly Brian Kelly had him warm up, but were you aware of it at the time? And did you think, okay, I've got one last chance to stay in this game?
No, I was not aware of it until just before UC went up and played Ohio State. I'm laying in bed because I'm driving up. It was last year. I'm driving up for the game the next day, and I'm laying in bed, and that game's on like ESPN Classic, and my wife and I are here, and I was like, well, I've never watched this, so let's go ahead and watch and see what happens. And the amount of times that they showed Zach Kalaris warming up on the sideline, like, holy cow, like it was close. And I had no clue, but it was probably one series away from happening. And thankfully, to be a part of, like you talked about earlier, be a part of UC history, I'm glad it didn't.
All right, so let's fast forward to the fourth quarter. You finally pull even. You tie the game at 38 with 5 minutes and 46 seconds to go, and Pitt goes right down the field in 9 plays and scores on a Dion Lewis touchdown to go back on top by 6. And then their holder on the PAT, Andrew Janoko, can't handle the snap, tried to run it in and got tackled. So it's a 6-point game instead of a 7-point game. What's your thought at that moment? Armon, you go first.
I think when he fumbled the snap, I know me personally, at that moment I knew we were going to go down the score. I mean, we were hot. We were rolling up and down the field. It just seemed like every ounce of faith and destiny was saying, hey, we're going to go down, we're going to score, we're going to win this game. It was just going to be like another 2 minutes. I think we all had that confidence. By that point, whatever happened in the first 3 quarters didn't even matter anymore. It was just about our offense going out there, executing, and doing something special.
Tony?
I just remember the not having to say anything, but being in the offensive huddle on the sideline, waiting for the kickoff, and just knowing and having the confidence that now that it's a 6-point game and we can go win this instead of go and tie it. I think everyone just had that confidence of, at this point, we're going to go do it. Things that started going our way. We were moving the ball a lot better. And there was just a eerie, weird silence, across that whole stadium. You mentioned that place rocking. That time it got quiet. And I think the understanding of what we were capable in offense, we had found some things out throughout the course of the game. And what Pitt kind of did defensively during those last few drives allowed us to dictate what we wanted to do on that last drive.
So the game didn't start great for you, Tony, but it ended great. You completed your final 11 passes of the game. And on the final drive, a completion to Marty, a completion to DJ Woods, another completion to Marty. And that takes us to the big moment. 39 seconds to go. You call a timeout. It's first down and 10 at the 29-yard line of Pitt. Let's describe the play, the formation, what you saw, how you guys communicated. Tell us basically everything you remember about the play.
You want me to start?
Go ahead, Tone.
Yeah, so on that drive, obviously when a team is trying not to give up a big play, they come out and they play some soft type of zone, and we were able to have some completions early in that drive. So coming out of the timeout, you're kind of expecting that still, the bend but don't break philosophy from a defense. So for a lot of the game, and as Armon said, rightfully so, Marty Gilliard attracted a ton of attention. So a lot of times they'd get an extra safety or a defender rolling his way in the zone. So we went empty. We sent Isaiah Pete out wide, and Armon was on the backside of the formation. And to my surprise, coming out of the play, I believe it was the protection was 52 because we were in empty, so it was a 5-man protection. I think the play call was chair. And on that play call, there is a automatic, you can automatically change your route based on the coverage and what you get. So coming out and you see man-to-man, all of a sudden it's like, are they really going man, or are they going to bail at the last minute and get into a zone? Well, not only are they in man, but the safety is shifted towards the 4 receiver side. So I know that I got Armon one-on-one backside. There was just kind of an eye contact, a signal. I know he was going to adjust his route. And as I did many times over the course of my career, throwing to guys like Armon, it's just put the ball in the vicinity for them, and they're going to go up and make a play. And again, the line protection, the hold the safety for a split second, put the ball up, and really let Armon do the rest.
Armon, describe it from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, similar to what Pike said, the drive started exactly how you wanted to. The drive to start, completion. Coming out of timeout, we had the ball. We knew we were going to overload the field. We went 4 receivers, like I said, empty set, 4-by-1, 4 guys to the field. I'm single in the boundary. As soon as I got pressed, I knew the ball was coming up. There's nobody over top. We have been going at that guy a few times earlier in the game. So for me, it was just a release, make sure you're in, and then find the ball when it's in the air. And I'll be honest, once the plays kind of snapped and I got off the line of scrimmage, it kind of went black for me. And I blacked out. I caught the ball. First thing I remember seeing when I wake up is Sam Griffin and then the dude just tackling me, man. And, that's the moment right there.
You blacked out because you made the catch with a separated shoulder. So the play, according to your former quarterbacks coach, Greg Forrest, was far cowboy spread 52 chair. That's the full name of the play. Armon, you were matched up against a guy that was 5'9". That's a good matchup for you in that situation, right? If Tony's going to throw it up and give you a chance to make a play, you had a considerable size advantage against the corner that was on you.
Yeah, we did a good job the whole year of kind of understanding where the weaknesses are in defenses, understanding our matchups, who we like against what guys, and Tony did a great job of trusting us. He trusted me to win, just like he trusted Marty and all the other guys. So I knew I had to step up in that moment. Like you said, there was a lot of coverage from Marty. It got hot in the game, so I knew the one-on-one opportunities were going to come. And for me, it was just about doing what I've always done, man. Like playing basketball, going up, getting the rebound, dunking on somebody, all the things I used to do to Tony and Pike back in the days,
So the game's tied at 44 after your touchdown catch, and now you got to kick the extra point to try to win the game. Pitt has just botched a PAT. The weather conditions are brutal. Jacob Rogers had missed a PAT in the 4th quarter. He missed a field goal earlier in the game. Think he mishandled a punt early in the game. So the PAT was not guaranteed. How relieved were you when that ball soared through the uprights? Tone?
And that was the longest PAT, I think, in the history of sports, just because you're on such a high. And you mentioned the UC fan base that traveled. Everyone's going crazy in Heinz Field, and then you're like, oh, okay, we did miss one of these earlier. Let's make sure we get this. And Caleres puts the hold down, Jake puts it through, and still after that, I know there was, just you're under a minute, but it still felt like there was all kinds of time for Pittsburgh to do something. Thankfully, Bill Stahl's arm was kind of sore, so he was cold because they handed the ball to Dion Lewis every play of the game. So we're able to take advantage of that and close it out.
All right, so you pull it off, you rally from 21 down, you complete the perfect regular season, 12-0. You know you're going to the Sugar Bowl. What was it like in the locker room? What was it like on the bus after that game?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like I said, best, it was pandemonium. So as soon as that game ended, from the field to the locker room, man, it was just so much emotion, so much joy, man. Guys crying, guys hugging each other. It was like everything that culminated with the last 3 years of building that program to where we were at, man. We had finally did, something that no one had ever done before. And it was just an amazing feeling, amazing ride back. And, I'll never forget that kind of 24, 48-hour period after that, just the joy that we had, man, because we knew we had accomplished the goal.
Tony?
That's I think my biggest regret of that whole experience is once we get in the locker room, I don't have any recollection of what happened. I remember being on the field, and I remember celebrating with the fans and celebrating with obviously the team. And I remember walking off the field, and I just don't know if it was the exhaustion from a season, both physically or mentally, or the highs and lows. But I don't have recollection until like we pulled back into Clifton to return from the game. It's the craziest thing ever, because I know the feeling and the happiness and the emotion. I just don't remember anything from the locker room for whatever reason.
Well, I have never watched the game back from start to finish, so I can't wait to do it tonight. I'm sure there are going to be moments that I've completely forgotten about, probably some lousy ones, in addition to the great highlights in the comeback, but this is going to be a lot of fun. It's a game that I'll never forget, certainly. It's the highlight of my broadcast career, thanks to you two guys, and I can't wait till tonight. It's going to be fun. So thanks for joining us on this call, and I hope you look forward to it as much as I do.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for being a part of it, man. It's just something we'll all never forget, man. I cherish it a lot, so I'm excited. I haven't watched the game either, so I'm tuned in.
All right, so it's coming up tonight at 7 o'clock. Again, you can see it on Facebook, YouTube, and GoBearcats.com. A Bearcats watch party presented by Nathan's Hot Dogs as we go back to 2009, Cincinnati versus Pitt in the greatest game in Bearcats football history. Hope you enjoy it tonight at 7.